Okay, welcome to the first of the Bronze Academy drawing tutorials. So in this little video, I'm going to show you how to start a drawing and how to lay it out so that it meets the relevant standards. So we're going to begin with a simple one, which is block one, and after each block that you complete, you'll need to go ahead and create a drawing for each one of those as well. So to start off with, what you're going to need to do is go to the department website, and under CAD resources, you'll see there is a link called Inventor Drawing Template. If you click that, you'll see that we have provided you with a template which gives you the outline of the drawings with all the settings already set up. What you need to do is to click on that, and you'll need to download and save that into your document somewhere. When you do it, make sure you give it a sensible name so that you can come back and find it again. You're going to use this file as a template. So once you have downloaded that, what you will need to do is you will need to open it. So I've left mine in my downloads file for now. You need to put yours somewhere sensible. When you find it, you're going to open it. And the very first thing you are going to do is you're going to save a copy. So we're going to go to Save As. Again, find a special place for the file to go. So probably in your documents, you need to have a CAD Academy folder or something similar. And this is going to be the bronze one. So this one's we're going to call Bronze Drawings. And you can save that. So now we've got a blank sheet and we can start to put our views in. So what we need to do in order to insert views into the sheet is we need to begin with a base view. So we're going to click on this button here, the base button, and we're going to navigate our way to wherever it is that you have saved your bronze files. So I put all my bronze blocks in a folder and I've named them all so that I know which one is which. Let's start with bronze number 1 and click open. When we first do that, it gives us a little preview of the block. Now, depending on how you have modeled it, that would depend on the particular view that you get. Now, from the instructions, the view that we want to start with is the front, so that will be our elevation, is actually the view that has ended up on my model as being the right-hand view. So you can use the view cube here just to spin things around to get the view that you're going to start with. At this point, what you can do is add a label. This will be the elevation. So you can type that in block capitals, make sure that the light bulb is on, and then what that means is when we create the view, we'll end up with a label already in place. So our next views, we're going to put a left elevation. So if we drag our mouse to the left-hand side, you can see a little outline. I'm going to click here. We're also going to do a right elevation, and we are going to do a plan view. So each time I'm just clicking once, and then I'm going to go above. You'll see there's a little cross which we can use to remove a view if we put one in that we did not mean to put in place. Once we're happy with that, what we're going to do is we're going to press OK. Here we've got our 4 views in place. We can move them around the page by clicking them and dragging them. And you'll notice that when I do that to this one here, that the title moves with the block. Next thing we want to do is to add some titles to these other views. The quickest way to do that is to double click the view. And here where it says label, we want to change that. In this instance, this is going to be the left elevation. Make sure that you've clicked the light bulb, otherwise that label won't be visible. This one here will be the right elevation. Again, click the light bulb. And then the last one, this plan view, we can add a label for that as well. We can go back into any of them and modify the view, or we can turn the light bulb on if we have forgotten to do so. Now we've got our views laid out, we need to add some dimensions. So for this one here, all we really need is a height, a length, and a thickness. The ruling being that we only ever put a size once. So if we were to go to the annotate tab up in our ribbon here and find dimensions, it doesn't matter which view we put the sizes on, but we need to make sure that we only have it on one view. So I'm going to put the height on. I could put the height on here, or here, or here. It doesn't matter which one. Generally try and keep your dimensions kind of on the outside of your drawing. So that would be preferable to maybe having it here. So we've got a height. Next thing we need is a width. I'm going to put the width on this one here. So I'm just clicking on the line and then I'm moving away from it. You'll notice that the the labels are really quite close to the blocks. So what I'm going to do now, having done my sizes, I'm going to click on each of these labels. I'm going to hold down the Control key and click the other two. And once I've got them all selected, I can just click and drag them out of the way. That way they stay in line. So that is the layout completed. We've got our labels, we've got our dimensions. The last thing we need to do is think about completing this box down here. This is our title block where we need to have our name, date, and the title of the drawing. If you come over to your feature tree, you'll see we've got sheet 1, which is this sheet that we're working on. We've got a border, which is the line on the outside, and we've also got something here called ISO with a little plus next to it. That is describing this block. So if you hit the little plus, you'll see there's another box there called field text, which you can double click, and it opens this little dialog box. In here, you can see that we can enter some little fields, little values here, which will now appear in our box. So the first one is our name. Let's say that one's Mr. Nice. The date. Don't know what the date is today. Something like that. And then the course and project. In here, I'm going to put Bronze CAD Academy. And I'm going to put block 1. Once you're happy, press OK, and you can see now that those items have appeared in the box. So that is our first drawing complete. Okay, so we've completed one of our drawings. You've now gone on and you've completed the block 2, and you're now ready to do a drawing for that. So if we open up the drawing file that you created your first block drawing in, we're actually going to use this file and we're going to add the rest of our drawings in this same file. I've titled it Bronze Drawings rather than Bronze Block 1 because I'm going to have all the drawings of my Bronze Academy blocks in this one document. So how do I make that happen? So here we've got the sheet, which is the sheet that we've got our Bronze Block 1 on. What we need to do is to go back to the Place Views, and right along on the right hand side here you can see where it says New Sheet. Now if I click that, it's going to add a new sheet. I can put in my name, I can put in the date, and I can put in the project. This time it's going to be Bronze CAD Academy Block 2. Now you can see now we've got a blank sheet and it's added a second sheet here. If I double click on this one that's grayed out, you'll see that we've still got sheet 1, which is where we drew block 1. And then I can double click on sheet 2 and that gives me the second sheet. At this stage, it might be worth editing the sheet. So right click, edit sheet, and you can change the name. So I'm going to make that block 1. And I'm going to right click this one here and I'm going to edit the sheet. I'm going to call that block 2. Now these things may not be strictly necessary, but they make it a lot easier for us to see which sheet is which. Or if we've got a set of drawings that are more complicated, so the different parts, we can identify which part is on which drawing. So we've got our sheet, and in the same way as before, we need to now go to Base View, and we need to navigate to our Bronze Block 2. So wherever it is that you have saved your files, Bronze Block 2, you can find that and you can open it. Now, as before, we can choose the view that we're going to start with. We actually want this is our elevation. This is the front view. I'm going to now drag in another view here, another view here, and a view on the top. Now at this stage, my first view, I can add a label, which is going to be the elevation. I'm going to make sure that the light bulb is switched on. So I've now got my 4 views, and you will see that Inventor default setting is to include hidden details. So this hidden detail here is showing us this edge that is not visible when we're standing on the right hand side, but we represent that edge as being a hidden detail because it's within the part. So as before, if we double click on a view, we can change the label and we can turn the visibility on. Okay, so once you've completed or you labeled all your Okay, so once you've labeled your views, now we need to think about some dimensions. So this one here is going to have a couple of extra sizes on it. We're going to have a length, we're going to have a height, we're going to have a thickness, but we also need to describe the step where this piece has been cut out. So we're going to need to have some sort of height and also some sort of length on that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to move my view labels a little bit away from the blocks so that I've got room for my sizes to come in. So I've just held down the control button in order to select them all and drag them down. So annotate dimension, put a length on here. I'm going to put my width on here. I'm going to put my height. Actually, I'm going to put my height on this one here. Now this one here, I'm also going to use this view to show the height of this step here, this line. I'm going to do that by, I can either click on this edge here because it splits it in two, or I can click on these two lines here. So now you've laid out your views and you've put labels on, we're ready to put some dimensions in place. Just before we do that though, I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to select each of these labels. I'm going to click, hold control, and I'm just going to move them slightly further away from, from the model so that I can have room for the dimensions to fit in there. So sizes, we need this time a length and a height and a width, but we also need to describe this little cutout step. So let's find the dimension tool. First off, I'm going to put the overall length on by clicking the bottom line. The width, I'm going to drop into this view here. And now the height, because this has got a broken line, because it's got two edges, if I was to just select that line there, I would only get that step, which is fine. I can use that. If I want to do an overall height, I'd need to select the top and the bottom lines, and I would bring it over there. Now, conventionally, we would always have dimensions arranged like that. So if you have a small dimension, it would go inside rather than having it like this. You can see why. It's confusing, it's crossing, it's not looking very good. So let's have the smaller ones inside, and as they get bigger, we'll work away. So there is one more size, which is this one here, the depth of that step. Now we can either put that on this view here, or we can put it on this view here. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to put it on this one here. So they are all the sizes that we need. I'm just going to bring my view down a little bit so it's not quite so lost. So that is block 2 of the Bronze CAD Academy completed. So bronze block 3, we've completed blocks 1 and 2. So what we need to do is we need to add a new sheet. We're going to put our name in, date, and the title. And here's my block. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the base. I'm going to navigate to my block 3. And I'm going to arrange it on the page. So that's my front view. I'm going to do 2 more views for this one. 3 more views, sorry. I'm going to label my first view, and I'm going to press OK. So next thing, you need to label the views by double-clicking, turning the view label on, and changing the name to something suitable. You can now do this for the remaining views. Once you've completed the labeling of the views, you need to move the views down and you need to add some sizes. In this instance, we're going to have overall height, overall length, and we're going to have two thicknesses, one for the tall section and one for the small section. And we're also going to have to describe the length of that section. Now, it doesn't matter critically where the dimensions go, as long as we follow the general rules, which are that we try and keep them outside the drawing and that we don't repeat them anywhere on the different views. So I'm not going to have that one there. I'm not going to put the 60 here because I've already got it on the plan view. So I've got my height, I've got my length. I need to put in a thickness and I need to put in in fact, you know what? Where would I dimension that one? So once you've laid out your views and you've labeled them, make sure you drop the labels for these bottom three views down a bit so you've got room for your dimensions going in. So remembering to follow the rules, we're going to try and keep our dimensions on the outside where possible. We need to have a height, we need to have a length, we need to have a thickness. We also then need to describe how big this little block here is, how far it sticks in, and how high it is. Remember not to have sizes repeated on different views, so I don't want to do that. I'm going to put the thickness of this one here. And I also wouldn't do that because that is telling me what I already know. I know it's 40, so if I have one of those on there, then I know that that's got to be 20. Lastly, I just need my height, which I'm going to stick on this view here. And that is block 3. So bronze block 4, remember we've created a new sheet. We have added the details that pops up to put in our name and the title of the sheet. And now we're going to go for another base view, and this time we're looking for bronze block 4. Very similar to the previous one. Again, check that your first view is correct. You can spin it if it isn't with the view cube. And this time I'm actually only going to have 3 views because the view from here will be identical. We don't always necessarily have to have 4 views. So we're going to label the view, first view, I'm going to press OK, we're going to double click and we're going to label our other views. So once you have laid out your views and you've labeled them, remember and drag the view labels for these bottom 2 down so we've got space for our dimensions. Again, we're going to go annotate and dimension, and it doesn't matter too much where you put your heights. Could be on one or other of these 2 views. And the thickness of the whole thing, again, it could be this one here, or it could be on this one up here. We're going to need to indicate how thick this piece is. And we know that that's going to be 20, so we don't need any more information on that. An overall length for this one, let's make that 60. The other information we need is a height of this block, remembering to keep the small sizes on the inside. And the last thing we need to do is just say where this sort of middle section is in relation to the other bits. So what we can do there is we can put a dimension from the outside to the edge, and we'll need to have one here as well. We don't need one in the middle because we've already told, we've already provided the information that overall it's 60, so we can work out that must be 40 if these two are both 10. Now because we've got 2 decimal places shown here, what you can do is you can actually drag the number to the side and it makes it a bit easier to read. We can change the precision here, but we're not going to do that just now. So that is bronze block 4. Bronze CAD Academy block 5. You've completed the model, now I need to draw it. So we've created another new sheet, we've filled in the title block. So let's go base, let's navigate to where we've saved bronze 5. We're going to open that. Again, double check that your front view is the elevation that you need. And if you're happy with that, we can change the title, make sure that the light bulb is on, and then we can add our other views. Let's do 4 views here, and when we're happy with them, we can click OK. Now these two are the same. In fact, they're all the same. Once you've done your lady views out, make sure you add the remaining labels by double-clicking, switching the light bulb on, and giving it a title. Once you have completed labeling your views, we need to add some sizes. We need an overall height, an overall width, and an overall thickness. The other information we need is to describe the distance from the top to the bottom. And from the sides to the outside edge. And that is block 5 complete. So Bronze CAD Academy block 6. Open the base view button and navigate to where you've saved Bronze block 6. And then drop it in. Set your do views either side. Change the label. Repeat for the remaining views. When you have done that, we need to add some sizes. So again, we're going to have 3 major sizes: the height, the overall length, and the thickness. In this instance, however, because we've got these 3 shapes, what we could do, instead of giving the whole length as 60, we could give 3 lots of 20, and that would tell us the same thing, and it may well be neater. We could equally, we could do the same going up the way, or we could just give the middle one. We also need a thickness. Once you've labeled all the views, it's time for the sizes. This time we're going to do something slightly different. Instead of going 60 from the side to the side, what we're going to do this time is do 3 lots of 20, which tells us the whole thing is 60, but that each of these lines here is 20. In the same way, we can do that for the height, so that each of these 3 elements are 20, and when added together, they create the overall 60. All we need to do then is add in the thickness of 30. Bronze block 7, create the new sheet as before, and add the details into your title block. Base, and navigate to wherever it is you've saved Bronze block 7. Make sure the view you're putting in to begin with is the one you want for the front, and then add the other 3 views around it. Change the label, and make sure that the light bulb is switched on. Now you can add the labels to each of the other views. Okay, adding the sizes for this block. Although there is an angle here, we did not create it by using an angle, we created it by using these heights. So we're not going to worry about adding an angle in just now. We need an overall length, we need an overall width, we need an overall height, and we also need to know just the height of this front edge. And with that, we would be able to create the block. So Bronze block 8. Let's go to the base view and navigate to where we've stored Bronze block 8. Again, work out which is your front view and which is your end elevation. Put the views in, change the label, and make sure that the light bulb is switched on. Now you can add the labels for your other views. Now we can put some sizes in, and again, although we have got an angled edge, it's actually the height of this is how we defined it. So for annotating and dimension, we need an overall length, we need our width. To get the height, we're going to have to hit the bottom edge and then we're going to have to hit that top point. Make sure that you bring it out horizontally to get that full 50. The only other size we need is that one there. Why is that not there? Oh, I didn't turn it on. Okay, once you've labelled all the views, we're looking at the dimensions. And again, although we've got a sloped side here, we define that by using this height, so we don't need to worry about putting an angle on just yet. We need a length of the whole thing. We need a width for the whole thing. We need a height, which in this instance, we're going to have to click the bottom line and that top point. And then the only other size we need is the height of this line here. Bronze CAD Academy block 9. So new sheet and populate your title block at the bottom. Then we're going to go base and we're going to open up that file, that folder again, and find bronze block number 9. Make sure that the first view is the one that you are being asked to use as the elevation, so that would be our front view. Then you can add your other views around it. Over here I'm going to label my first elevation and make sure that the light bulb is on. Next you need to label the remaining views. Once you have labeled the views, we're looking at putting in some sizes. So annotate and dimension tool. Here we're going to need the overall width, we're going to need the overall thickness, and we're going to need the height. We also need to know the height of this line here that will tell us information about this corner chamfer, and we can see that it's the same as there, so we don't need it on that point there. We also need to see how far in these two are going, and we can do that on the top view, on the plan view, by putting two 20s in here. Remember that we do not need the one in the middle. We can see that that's 20 because overall we have a size of 60. So Bronze CAD Academy block 10. Let's find the block we've used and let's open it up. Again, make sure that the one you are looking at for that first elevation is the correct view, and then we can add the other views around it. So now you need to label your remaining views. So once you've laid out your views and you've labeled them, it's time to put some sizes on. Again, we've got a sloping edge. We could look at an angle, but we made that edge by setting the distance from the edge to the corner and from here to the bottom. So we're going to use sizes to define it on our drawing too. So let's think we need an overall length, we need a thickness, we need a height. Again, these could go on different views. They're just the ones I'm putting it on. We need to know how far it is from this edge here to the bottom. So we can put height here. We also need to know how far it is from here in the way. So again, we can put one on this one. And the last one that we need is the length of this line here. How far from this corner to the start of the slope. Now I don't want to put it there. If I can avoid it, I don't want to have sizes inside this space. I don't think it looks as tidy. So I'm going to go and put something on this top one up here. Now just as I'm doing that, I just want to draw your attention to a little detail. When I put a dimension on, I get the gap as we are expecting between my leader lines and the geometry. However, if I was to grab or dimension this line here, as I bring it up, you'll see, although I've got the gap here, I haven't got a gap here where I would expect it. And that's because the dimension is actually picking up the edge of this line. So it's left a gap between this line here and the start of the leader line, but that's not where I want it. What I actually want is it here. So there's two ways that you can resolve that. One way is to click on the dimension and to take the little green splodge and drag it up to the corner where you want it. You can actually change dimensions completely by doing that to something totally different. So you can use that to manipulate it around. So that's one way. The other way we can do it is by thinking about what we're dimensioning at the beginning. So I've got my dimension tool selected. So I'm actually going from that corner to that corner. and that would also allow me to create the gaps between the geometry as required. So just a little detail to think about as you're creating these slightly more complicated drawings.